The sun shines down at the Daytona International Speedway with cloudless skies, and on this beautiful Monday night, we get set to see who will kick off their season on a high. Will we see defending champions continue to rise to the occasion? Will we see champions of old set to make a statement to reclaim their crowns? Or will it be one of several newcomers who might be looking to take home the first race win here at Daytona International Speedway this afternoon? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Green Flag TV and to the High Tide Racing League Premier Series. My name is Nolan Ramble alongside Justin Prince. We bring you all of racing action from start to finish here for the World Center of Racing. Justin, it's round one. It's stock cars at Daytona. No more iconic duo. It's the Super Bowl of NASCAR here at Daytona International Speedway.
Yes, indeed, and good evening, everyone. It's going to be interesting how drivers play things out tonight as we look to see how they fare out in a different car than in past seasons. We're in the Gen 4 car, which can produce some intriguing racing. Drivers have been trying to practice working as packs throughout the evening. They've also raced in duels in the first place to set the tone and to set their starting positions for tonight. Nolan, it's now going to be the important thing. The preparation leads into tonight. Who's going to get their job done?
The season kicks off at Daytona, as has every season for the High Tide Racing League. And in the meantime, when it comes down to the rest of the season, while we start things off here at the on the East Coast, and swing all the way back out to the west of the Auto Club Speedway for 125 laps. Then it's over to Nevada at Las Vegas. The Charlotte Motor Speedway will be round 4. Round 5 takes us to the first short track race at Bristol, followed by the lone road course race of the season at Watkins Glen, the lone of 2 at least. Texas Motor Speedway for round 7, Kansas for round 8. The top half of the season closed out by Pocono and Dover. Michigan, Richmond, Sonoma, New Hampshire, and Chicagoland close out the remainder of the regular series season. Now, Justin, this is where the big change comes in this season. Rather than the usual 12-8-4 elimination format these guys have had since season 1, for the first time, a major shakeup in the championship format. It is now going to be a top 12 points reset for a 5-race shootout at Talladega, Atlanta, Darlington, Phoenix, and then once again closing the championship out in Miami.
Makes things a little bit interesting, but of course with things going on the way they are in real life, you expect to see that type of a format as the battle is on to see who's going to be able to outpoint each other in that chase style format. The main thing's going to be, though, can you stay the most consistent in the long term to be able to try and win a championship?
Plenty of drivers right now situated down on pit road, going through the drivers meeting, making sure to get everything tightened on up before we get this show on the road. All 4 defending champions are here this afternoon. Among those is, of course, Jaden Hopp, the driver that took home the championship a couple months ago at Homestead Miami Speedway. He is back to defend his crown. Season 1 champion Benjamin Lacey is here. So is Season 2 champion Dustin Ping and Season 3 champion Dalton Kilbrough, as well as several rookies. You'll look to the 49, Jason Raymond, one of 3 rookies in the grid this afternoon, alongside the number 3 of James Beach, and then the 71 machine of Colin Clevens as well. So 3 drivers with new names set to make statements this afternoon. Another driver I'm keeping an eye out for here, Justin, Michael Ramos in the number 27. This car was making a lot of waves, came in late last season, was not able to compete for a championship, but with him getting several high point scoring positions on the boards, this 27 could be a threat for the title here this afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how the season goes on, in particular for some of these competitors as they try and put together some momentum from last season. The major thing to consider, though, is the season expected to go a lot more differently, to say the very least, with this car. It's going to become the question of who's going to be able to learn the most. This car's been around for a good few months on the platform, mind you, in the first place. And it's going to be about, can you put together the performances you need to do, especially on the mile and a halves, to become a champion?
Weather conditions up on your screen, 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 11 miles an hour of northeastward winds, going to make things interesting coming out of turn number 2. And, well, practice officially going to draw to a close, so it is high time now that we take a look and see who's going to be starting where for racing action here this afternoon. And to kick off the season, it's going to be the drivers that were up front at the duels and, of course, at Daytona qualifying just 1 week ago. It's going to be the likes of Brian D starting this season off from pole position alongside his teammate and Season 3 champion Dalton Kilroe on that first row of the grid. Row 2, it's Season 1 champion alongside Kevin Foster. Foster has been to the playoffs several times. Can he kick off his season on a high to start his trip towards that spot once again? Row 3, Ethan Sikorsky alongside Sean Brandt making his first full-time return since season number 1 of this series. Row 4 on the grid, it's going to be Jesse Gordon, started alongside Jeremiah Hobbs. Gordon, another driver that's been making waves, and he looks to make a splash to kick off season number 5. Row 5 of the grid closing the top 10 is defending champion Jaden Hobbs, starting deeper in the field, not having the duels he was hoping for alongside Nicholas Coruscant, who rounds out the top 10.
11th spot today goes to Ryan Philbrick. He'll start in that spot alongside Connor Gibson. Gibson will be in the 31 car. Next row, that's going to be featuring Zachary Wareham with Bobby Berry. Bob Berry specifically. He's driving Jeff Gordon's game on the track tonight. Ty Barasco will start in 15th. Carter Phillips starts next to him in the top 16. 17th went the way of Jason Raymond with Michael Thorpe Jr. in 18th spot. Running your top 20, Kyle Wellman. And then to round out the grouping with the 24 machine. That machine going to feature Paul Strathmary, who is ready to see how things fare out tonight.
21st place, it's Dustin Payne, the Season 2 champion alongside Michael Ramos. Row number 12, it's David Lakey alongside Caden Gargiulo. Row 13, Tanamar and Jonathan Canfield with row 14 featuring Sean Williams and Scott Shire. Rounding out the top 30, it's going to be Colin Clevens and James Beach, 2 rookies, 29th and 30th.
31st goes to Mike Massengill, Wyatt Walker and the GW Racing car. 32nd, John Osborne starts 33rd with Larry Bell, the Canadian, down in 34th. Nick Nickerson starts 35th, and rounding out the field is Christopher Baysinger towards the tail, along with Austin McGill and Miguel Robinson will start in 38th spot tonight.
Season number 5 of the High Tide Racing League is brought to you by Ohio and Indiana Roofing, a premier roofing contractor. They're a sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise, and they specialize in commercial and industrial roofing and are committed to accommodating the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. For more, visit www.oiroofing.com for more information. Once again, that is www.oiroofing.com for more information. Field's coming out of turn numbers 3 and 4 in Season 5, set to kick off strong. The iRacing pace car makes that dive into pit road, and Season 5 of the High Tide Racing League is officially underway in the United Rentals Restart Zone. Off of turn 4, up top, trouble already entering the tri-oval as it's going to be Jonathan Canfield spinning down to the inside. Caution comes out, Canfield's able to keep it off the wall, and the yellow flag is out early in Season number 5.
Yeah, it looked like Canfield had been running up on the high side, going through 3 and 4 in that caution period. I believe it was Sean Williams who may have gotten a piece, and let's take a look at it on the replay. See the send coming on through. You See the run coming from the bottom of the racetrack. Williams was a little bit higher up from the yellow line. Does make slight grazing contact that helps finish the job.
Kind of looked like Canfield wasn't sure where to go, right? He was kind of hovering between both lanes, and you can't have that sort of indecision or you get an incident like this. And, you know, he had a 4-tire lockup, a big slide to the inside. He is lucky to keep that car off the inside wall. That could have been a really nasty hit.
Very lucky there in terms of such a contact. Well, that's leading to a lot of discussion on the radio already, but usually don't want to see a caution this early on into the season. But now it's a chance for the field to at least reset and regroup with already things shuffling a fair bit up front. Kevin Foster is the one up in the race lead now at the time of the caution flag. So things shuffle pretty quickly with that run for the outside line down the backstretch.
Let's take a look real quick here at the movers and shakers at the end of that first lap, right? And I mean, what we're going to show you here, right? That is how much things can change in just the span of one lap here at Daytona, right? Chipotle Center down 2, Sean Brady, Kevin Foster up 4 and 3 respectively. Hobbs up 4, Gibson up 4. Some drivers even coming down pit road under this yellow flag for a bit of a fuel gain here. Now, who this does help big time is Mikael Robinson and Dalton Kilbrough. Those two drivers actually started this race from pit road. They were at risk of losing a lap very early on had that yellow flag not come out. Now, they can just hang around at the tail of the field.
And now, able to at least try and stretch a little bit further. There is a lot of discussion on the radio about the fuel numbers because here's the thing, it is 80% fuel in the tanks tonight. Some of the drivers are reporting the fuel numbers only about 11 gallons.
Ooh.
With the way that limit's working. That sounds a lot lower than normal for this car.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, 11 gallons, that is not going to last you very long out there. Probably, what, 20, 30 laps tops if you're lucky?
It might be pushing it to go 20 to quite be simple. We have to really see for sure during the course of these runs. But I know that's already a discussion point for some of the drivers here that just realized that. But keep in mind, this car body type is different compared to the Speedway chassis. Bit more squared off for the bumpers to allow pushing, and as a result you have the restrictor plate that these cars that choke things off of the power band as well, that people always used to love when it comes to style of racing. Usually you can get some good battling together and some decent momentum from the lines.
Should get the one to go signal here this time by with a bit of a fluke yellow flag there for the first one. Frankly, I'm surprised there even was a yellow flag with how far down the racetrack and how quickly Jonathan Canfield spun. But we'll slow down the action early on here today. Now, I'm not going to bother with the whole discussion on who do we think is going to win this one because it's a plate track. Anything can happen from laps even 5 to 10, right? I mean, the amount of times we'll see lead changes tonight is going to be absolutely immense. But tell you what, a lot of drivers here probably feeling the pressure with slowing it down for the first time, and that anticipation is only going to keep building because they only just got up to speed when that caution came out for the first time.
Yeah, I think once we get a long run into the race, I think that's where we'll really see how comfortable drivers are able to get here with this type of race. Obviously, too short of sample size when you have a quick caution like that. So quite simply for this field, it's can they get into a rhythm? Can they get the long run started here? And then try and sort out where they want to go from here on strategy.
See 3, 4, 5 cars that came down to pit road again right before coming to the green flag here. So fuel is seemingly a big concern for a lot of drivers today. And if the fuel numbers are going to be pushing it to 20, pushing to get to 20 more accurately, yeah, it's going to be an interesting strategy race this afternoon. And pit road, I think, is going to be a busy place all night long. Now, that's not necessarily something you want to hear, because when you're getting down on the pit road, it's one of the sketchiest moments you can have at a track like this.
Just about ready to sort things out. I think it's going to be Howell drivers timing up already. A fair amount of drivers towards the back of the field trying to build some buffers. So get ready to hit the loud pedals.
Green flag comes out on lap number 5, and we are off and away. A pretty significant getaway at the head of the field there for Kevin Foster. That might leave him vulnerable, though. You don't want to get too big of a launch, or you run the risk of being sworn. Down to the inside goes Sean Britton, who's going to push right to the back of the Miller Lite number 8.
Not surprised to see that dive immediately down to the bottom of the racetrack. Bottom of the racetrack better in terms of the corners. You have to have some people willing to work with you on the high side if you want to get the numbers to work here. One of the things, though, you have to remember, and this might be a bit of a crossover from the previous Gen 4 chassis, you have to be careful on how you push. Some of these drivers trying to be very cautious to make sure they don't jack up the rear end of their cars in front of them and cause a spin out.
First full green flag lap is officially in the books, as the lines remain mostly single file throughout a good chunk of the grid. Jeremiah Hobbs up top right now. He's being pushed by Ethan Sikorsky, or at least an attempted push as they come around their turn 2. But look at how many drivers have bandied the top line early. No one is keen on staying up high.
I think the field, quite simply, is making it clear here, Nolan. Stay in a line. Let's save some fuel. And with how the fuel numbers are here, don't blame them. Try to make sure they get to the end of these windows. Make sure they don't have any struggles for pit stops here tonight. There's going to be a lot of stops in general here this evening here at Daytona. And part of that equation is getting there, but somebody managed to caution.
A big crash back behind. Jason Raymond got flung up into the air and may have dinged off the fence. And one of the rookies going to be out here early on. A lot of damage on Jason Raymond's car. Look at that whole left front, completely ripped apart.
Remember what I said about pushing on the back end of these cars, because the way they work, and why so many people are trying to be careful to even push too much here, even with the front nose the way it is here with these cars. Well, big checkup effect. Dalton Kilroe was actually the spark here. He got hit behind by Kyle Wellman, and then everybody else from here on out was sent into scramble mode because there were cars sliding over the grass from the checkup effect, and then they ricocheted back up nearly into the catch fence.
I think they did. Yeah, the 49 did catch the fence with the left front. That's actually what ripped the left front off, was when he slammed into one of those support posts. Golly, that is a sight to see. I mean, that is... Ugh, that's an ugly wreck to see this early on. And you'll take a look at this one at speed, and there you see the checkup begin, as you say, and round they go, and up and into the fence right there for the 49.
See heavy damage here, and remember in this series, no fast repairs. So for many drivers, their chances are going to be crossed up here. Williams, 2 incidents in a span of less than 10 laps. We did have a few drivers have a scramble just now with the checkup effect down the back straightaway. A few drivers nearly just had an incident, but it looks like everyone's okay down that back straightaway with Raymond, Walker, and Bell, along with Williams, the drivers that are in massive damage control mode and have lost front ends of the race cars.
Wyatt Walker having a black flag as well. I believe he entered the pit road before it opened, which is why he's going to have to come back down under green flag conditions. And if the field is as tight here, I would expect to see a good number of cars hitting to the pits, but it's all about that track position too, right? And so far, I'm not seeing a whole lot of people, at least up front, that want to take that chance. Scott Charles, the first one in.
most part. I think people are just prioritizing track position, but also limiting how many times they truly have to go down pit road. Because, as we've already seen here, established, it could be pretty hard today to make passes if the outside line just does not establish itself here. Here's a look at some of the other drivers in the pack, though.
This is on board with Austin McGill. Just able to slip through.
Good effort to drive on by. I'll just start to stack up to his left. Very lucky to didn't slide up on the racetrack in his case. Sean Williams, though, he has 0 luck tonight.
Nowhere to go, and he had to just watch as the 49 got launched up and over. And Mike, be getting a report here that apparently it was actually Sean Williams that caused part of that checkup on the back straightaway.
A little bit chaotic there, but now at this point, it's going to be for the field how things really settle on down for some. Let's take a look at this again.
So this is going to be... This happened some point coming down to the turn 3 here. Oh my goodness!
What? I'm sorry, what? How does that happen?
Oh no! We might need to get an astronaut over there to turn 1. I don't think an ambulance is going to be able to get there, Justin.
Yeah. Obviously, the front nose dug in.
I think that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, right about here, something bottomed out, and the physics of the track obviously did not like that. I've never seen it like that, where a car just driving gets flown off like a rocket ship.
I have no words. Completely clears the track lighting, and away he goes. Tell you what, it's giving the pilots on the way into Daytona International something to look at.
It gives us something to dodge, if anything. Gives them a little bit of traffic to deal with.
I was going to say, yeah, we got to worry about when that comes down eventually. Well, we're doubled up, ready to go. 2 cautions, like you say, in 10 laps. That's a brutal way to start off the season.
Yeah, so at this point, I think we're already at the point where we're crashing in single file lines here. So the bar is set low. Can they just maintain and be aware of the checkups? One of the major talks over the radio was quite simply, can we please call out checkups? Because this car does not like bumps all that much, and the checkups can be pretty massive here if you aren't aware.
The issue is, right, of course, those checkups happen so fast. Well, I mean, you can try to call it out all you want, but we saw how quickly that devolved earlier on here. I understand the sentiment, but only so much drivers can do about it. It's just something you got to be aware of as a occupational hazard when racing here at Daytona. Green flag is back out in the air, and Kevin Foster this time doesn't get nearly as big of a launch. He is clear, except not quite. Sean Britt's actually got a run with him up top.
Yeah, not immediately diving to the bottom, interesting enough this time. I think the gaps just haven't opened up as quickly as they did the previous run, hence why some of these drivers willing to just stay up to the high side for now. But look at some of these drivers moving up here. Bob Berry, Amatso's moving on the bottom line.
Down into turn number 3. Foster still clear. That outside lane is a bit discombobulated. The 55 is Sean Britt all the way up by the outside wall. No one's up there with him. We're looking for 3 wide. Deeper in the field, Michael Ramos in the middle nearly overtook Michael Thorpe Jr. And with that bit of a stack up there, now everyone started to fade back to the bottom.
Now, this is what we're expecting here as drivers just want to quite simply get into the line, save the fuel, think about the pit stops, get into survival mode. Bob Berry got forced up to the high side also, though. So there goes those gains up 9 spots or so right before that moment. I think quite simply, one of the major things that comes to mind here, and this is more so an old chassis thing, and we're seeing it here today, difficulty to be able to get the lines moving. We're talking about today where some of the races made it hard to pass. You have to be able to get enough cars with energy built up. But in my experience here too, at least with this style of engine, thinking as well back to the old Gen 4 car, also known as the ARCA car, was to get there, you had to have the numbers. You also had to have the track position. It's going to be so critical as a result, Nolan, to get good pit stops, no issues on entry, and be able to then be in the main pack to be able to get yourself in a position to get this outside line to work for you later if you try and win this race.
Well, right now, with the field becoming an ever-present question, nobody's giving that outside lane much faith right now, as Sean Britt, a driver that was leading the outside lane for a while, drops the bottom, leading Bob Berry with no help. He'll fall all the way back towards Season 1 champion Benjamin Lacey in the Real Earth Films number 7, who tries to track up, and right behind him is the 77 of John Osborne. Osborne changing numbers, was running the 5 all of last season, switching over to the number 77 here this afternoon. They'll make a 3-car trade up top, but that's just barely enough to keep them from losing ground, let alone gain any, and one more car jumps to the inside from behind them.
Yeah, keep in mind, we've already had some people lose the draft, in fact, here. You have Canfield, who's lost the back end, Wyatt Walker, Colin Clevens, Beach, some of the rookies, in fact, back here in this pack. And I think one of the main things I've seen pop up and was curious about this was hard to maintain the draft when you're at the back of the pack. If you are unable to be aware of the checklist but also can't maintain momentum, you can very easily just lose touch to the rear end of the group and be set adrift like these cars.
Well, the good news is there's obviously time still for there to be another yellow flag. There probably is going to be another yellow flag as well, so the race is still not over, and if these guys start to get extra aggressive, there is the chance that, 27th on out, they can catch these guys. We've seen that happen before. I think for them, they need to stick together during pit stops and hope that this main field breaks apart when they come down for green flag stops, which is almost an inevitability.
Especially with the potential for mistakes. That pit entry in general is one where you need to be fairly aggressive in the first place, but also not too aggressive to the point where you cause an absolute pile-up. And these brakes do have a fair bit of work that you can put into it in the entry. Some of the drivers were pushing decent amount of speed coming in. Some of the drivers at the back of the group are a little bit vocal as they try to sort things out. Benjamin Lacey, I think, just content on testing things out as he looks to get things all steadied out up here. Again, a champion when it comes to this series, already has won a race with the duels.
It took a win earlier on in duel number 1, I believe it was. So your Season 1 champion is on the move and trying to see if he can't make something with that outside line, but the lack of assist from behind is not helping matters. Nick Nickerson right now trying to push John Osborne, but these guys struggle to get linked up top here, and heads up as Tanner Marr dips 2 wheels below that yellow line. Can't go down there to overtake. If you get forced down, it's fine, so long as you make an honest effort to rejoin the track as quickly and as safely as possible. But Tanner Marr, he's got to be careful with that, because we've seen before, right, the good old yellow line controversies flare up in so many other leagues. In real life, it'd be a shame to have it flare up here in the season opener.
Looking right now at some of these drivers testing things out. How about 3 wide? That's a little bit tight for John Osborne. Car washed up. Kyle Wellman was trying to run the middle. That 77 got washed up as a result. And that's some of the risk of 3 wide here with this car. It does have a tendency to want to wash up a little bit on the entry.
And that's going to cause him to get absolutely swallowed up by the backpack. Hold on, trouble back straightaways. The number 3 car has just blew the motor. James Beach goes hard into the outside wall. No caution yet. Still sitting on the racetrack. Might be trying to see if he can get the car refired. He's not going to be able to do so. There will be no yellow flag as a result of where he was. But I think Beach popped the motor and got turned on the back straightaway.
I think he got knocked down there on a checkup, and then the road course portion of Daytona got him, quite simply, and then popped the motor. Watch this. Hit from behind on the checkup, takes Lamont, and then it just pops on him.
Oh, boy.
After he's running low on the racetrack, it just started to reach high into the rev bands, and he tried to shift down and try and regain control.
So he's in 4th here, still in 4th, still in 4th. Right there, shifts into 3rd, and I think he actually downshifted all the way into 2nd. And that's what blew the motor, because I heard 2 very distinct upticks in revs there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he would shift like that in that circumstance. But that's going to take him out of contention for the race win, obviously, here at this point. So, all this while, everybody follow the choo-choo train. We'll see how long the run goes here. Some drivers, mind you, are offset by 8 laps on the fuel tanks according to the caution laps so far. So there is some strategy to consider here with those different plays. And potentially, you have to wonder if they're going to take 2 tires or 4, just try and fill up the full tank possibly. Or rather, try and take the full service while they fill up the tank is what I was trying to say.
Oh, you remain single file up in the front here. For the first time, everybody is officially single file at the head of the pack. You got even your secondary pack that's kind of split into a secondary and then tertiary packs. Canfield still leads 25th through 28th, but after that spin, Scott Shire now leads a 3rd group of 4, which includes Massagill, McGill, and Osborne. All the while ahead of the field, Kevin Foster continues to lead the way. We now have hit lap 21, and the drivers are going to be stretching on the fuel at this point. Of course, we were talking about the possibility to maybe even going to 20 would be stretching it, but when you get 2 cautions early on, that fills up most of the first 10 laps. It's going to make it substantially easier to get to 20.
It absolutely does, to say the very least. It makes it so easy in terms of that game plan, but it's also going to be where will things solidify once we go in real life. The runs went about up to 35-ish, if my memory serves right, for this era of racing back in 2003. Murray right now amongst those you see just carrying about 186 in the corners for a majority of the drivers, carrying more than 190 down the straightaways. So not a lot of speed variation corner to straightaway here in these packs. You have to use a lot of throttle modulation though, just because of how the pack fares out. And look out, checkup time.
A bit of a stack up front. Carter Phillips almost got shuffled out. They're able to keep it together. Now he is going to get shuffled out. He's pushed up into the outside line and going to absolutely drop like a stone with no help as they take to the back straightaway now. On board with Dalton Kilroe, and it looks like Carter Phillips is going to find a hole up front. And you see right there how he slowed up to about 184 miles an hour when you lift it out. That was the effect of Carter Phillips getting back in line and stacking up the field. That has now created a 0.3 of a second gap between Phillips and Hobb.
Yeah, bit of a sizable difference there. Some of these drivers, I think at this point, I don't think having to worry as much about the races per se right now. It's just a matter for them of making sure they're there later on. Some of the drivers that seen really good speeds in their time, like Jaden Hopp. I know Hopp, very competitive racer when it comes to the ovals, racing a lot of leagues. That 00 going to be one of the drivers to absolutely watch for some wins. We have a huge crash. Cars upside down in 3.
Oh my goodness, Sean Britt is on his side, and he's going to go tumbling down in towards the infield here. A monster crash over in turn 3, caution number 3 on the day, and this yellow flag should see everybody come down pit road, but a big ride for the 55.
Again, it's astounding that we see these crashes. We're running in a single file line, but quite simply, Carter Phillips started to check up, drifted up in the midst of the checkup. His chassis does have some sway on it with the twisted sister portion of the car, and everybody stacks up there to 30 in the 55 connect, and a lot of hard contact.
That was a brutal hit into the wall for Sean Britt, and he's going to go tumbling down the embankment. And he's lucky he didn't start to barrel roll like we saw happen in the Mars series just a few weeks ago in Miami, where one car had a similar crash, barrel rolled, I think, over 20 times, at least 15 before coming to finally come to rest. Even here in the high tide racing league, we've seen a wild ride here. Mike Massengill going for a 10-plus flip tumble in turn 4 off of a similar impact, and this is going to be at speed.
Just absolutely got hooked around there on the checkup effect. At that point, it's just a landmine of cars to have to dodge there in that circumstance. We've lost a lot of cars so far, Nolan, and that number just keeps on steadily growing here. Already down to 31 running. Some of the drivers like Nickerson having some moments here. Right now, score 19 as Days of Thunder time.
Down to the inside, just avoids the tumbling 55 as he also manages to slip through it. And as predicted, everybody is down pit road.
Yep, and this should get things taken care of for the quarter-way mark, absolutely, for the fuel numbers. Where we go from here, not quite sure, but a lot of 8-second services, people taking some quick stops, or they just take fuel only or 2 tires here. Kevin Foster just held on to control this entire race so far. Great race so far for the 8 to keep the clean air.
Well, the yellow flag is out once again here at the Daytona International Speedway. We're going to take ourselves with a quick step back, and when we return, racing action continues as we are 1/4 distance with the season opener at Daytona. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where racing action is set to continue. 27 laps deep and working caution flag number 3. The first sort of half big one of the night sees Sean Britt go upside down into turn number 3 off of quite the hit. And Justin, quite a few cautions being racked up early on, and all of them effectively coming from single file running. And It's all about the checkups, right? And these rounded noses connected with rounded rear bumpers doesn't do these guys any favors.
No, it doesn't, and this car gets very sensitive to contact to the rear end. When you have these checkups, we've seen just how much these cars just do not like to be touched, and that's why it's been so difficult to build and generate momentum. The first place up the high sides. It's going to make things difficult the rest of the way. You have to be aware of the situations ahead of you, knowing if you want to keep it clean, you've got to make sure you don't get heavy hits and don't touch a thing with that front nose.
They're going to work their way back through turn numbers 3 and 4. So far, Kevin Foster has been the controlling car of the day, as we'll take a look at the laps led here so far in this field. And, well, he has so far led every single one from the drop of the green flag. Took the lead early on lap number 1, and since then, no one has been able to get the drive around to the outside lane, and so far had nothing for the Miller Lite number 8 down on the inside. We'll see how long that's going to continue. The pace car is off. Once again, the United Rentals restart zone awaits. And Foster alongside Gibson lead us back to green.
That outside line just caught sleeping a little bit off the jumping blocks. Gibson just didn't time it up well, and I wouldn't be surprised again to see this land rush to get to the inside. Jesse Gordon already trying to rush down there. 31 of Gibson just being left alone here. Speed difference of near 10 miles an hour from the top to bottom.
Yeah, that outside lane, unlike what we normally see. Oh, hold on, here we go. Multiple cars going around to the back straightaway. Stacked up middle of the field, and that's going to be the big one. The 48 car goes upside down. Sliding on his roof is Austin McGill, and it's the big one on the back straightaway, and we got our second flip of the night.
Again, it happens in a single file line on a checkup. If you have to check up, you have to be aware of the situation. And in many cases, it's hard to see what's happening when you can't see through cars. These cars aren't transparent, and we're seeing these hits. The 84 gets hit hard by the 7, and then around goes the field.
And this one escalated quickly as everyone's still getting up to speed, and the 48 car just gets pushed onto its side and then completely up and over after rebounding off the nose of Dustin Ping. And again, lucky that car did go tumbling, kind of went for a slide on its roof, and John Osborne helps it get back over onto all 4 wheels. Yikes. These guys just cannot keep it out of trouble, can they?
Nope. And at this point, we're running out of contenders. A lot of people that done well so far this week and usually have done well in our series, having a wild time in these super speedways. Jaden Hopp was amongst those demolished there. Plenty of fast cars. Benjamin Lacey, who was one of the drivers who won in the duels, set for a massive slide. A lot of cars that had potential to win here just had their chances take significant hits.
Rookie Colin Clevens here having a heck of an avoidance down to the inside, right on board with the helmet camera of the Bojangles number 71, and as to what he saw, because this is going to be a ride.
Just have to pick a line and go from there. That's about as lucky as you can get. Wound up just in time on the brakes. And the hole opens up at the right moment to just drive on through with the carnage. A lot of cars as a result of that wreck coming down pit road. Ty Marasco at least gets a lucky dog.
A lot of front end damage though in that number 1 and on the left rear quarter panel actually, so I would not expect to see that one machine have any sort of pace underneath it by the time it gets back out onto the racetrack. Several cars also down pit road for damage repairs.
Yeah, even Benjamin Lacey coming down for some repairs. We've got damage to the left rear from the contact. We're running out of clean race cars at this point. So what do you do with all the carnage is what has to be thought about for some of the drivers here. Nobody is safe if they go into the pack here. Nobody.
No kidding. It's a dangerous racetrack, right? And I mean, we're seeing a lot of the hazards of Daytona rearing their heads that are just exacerbated when you get, race cars like this. I mean, heck, Jaden Hobb almost went up and over there as well, as Austin McGill got up and underneath him, and then along came the 20, and the rest is history.
Yeah, just the parking lot in the middle of the racetrack. We're down to maybe half the field having respectively clean race cars here. There's that 71 that we've seen just skirt his way on by, just avoided the contact as the entire top of the racetrack got clogged.
The only thing that really kept that 71 car from getting collected was the fact that somebody else T-boned the car that was spinning in front of him and shoved it out of his way.
Yeah. Now at this point, I have to look and see how things shape up for the restart. As you would expect, Kevin Foster does not want to give up this inside. He's been working well with Brian Dees off these restarts. Jeremiah Hobbs, though, keeps finding his way towards the front at the very least. I know he really wants to be a Dodge. That Chevy is really red.
He's trying. I mean, hey, the quote-unquote Dodge is up there. So Jeremiah Hobbs is going to try to make another effort at it. 24, Paul Satmary sits right behind him. He's not the only Dodge in the field, actually. I don't know if you've noticed. Jesse Gordon in the 1-0 here. He's got a Monte Carlo badge on the front, but if you look close, those are Charger lights and Charger taillights.
Yeah, putting the work into the paint schemes, absolutely here. And gotta love just the details put on with these cars by iRacing in general. When they added on here, the Batmobile is that extra bit of detail some of the people are willing to go, though, with their paint schemes to add on that extra bit of flair. We'll have to see, though, how things go on the restart for some of these drivers as, again, the outside just has continuously died off within a couple laps every run.
Sit rep on the field, 38 cars started this race. Only 29 are still racing. All 29 are on the lead lap. Bob Berry, the latest driver to have retired his race car alongside Mike Maskill and Austin McGill in this latest wreck. iRacing pace cars back into pit road. And once again, Kevin Foster jumps on the loud pedal. Green flag is back in the air for lap 32.
There it is again. Outside line dies off, and Hobbs this time able to find a hole to the bottom. Not gonna lose any track position from that, and now we see how long do the lines behave. The checkups have been intense. The crashes have been even more intense. Already a lot of communication trying to let people go.
Tell you what, Jesse Gordon cut Paul Satmary a massive break there as Paul chopped across the nose and nearly turned himself across the nose of the 1-0. So some drivers having to cut some slack to their fellow competitors here. I think everybody's sympathetic to wanting to get down to the inside right now. So drivers are being a little bit more gracious than they normally would be. Tanner Marr bails out. Dustin Pinkster remains on the outside line, along with, I believe, that is Coruscant. It is Coruscant in the 40 car. That is also up top.
Yeah, Coruscant continuously sailing through here. As a result of things, he's already had to repair the back end of the race car at least once. Very lonely when you're forced up to the high side of this situation, but now the fuel save game is on. Already the field becoming more diligent on their checkup calls over the radio.
Talking about kind of some of the stats that we've seen here for drivers that have won here at Daytona. There has never been a repeat winner at Daytona International Speedway. Past race winners include Bridger Olsen, Michael Ashmore, Christopher Basinger, and Hunter Lagunas. Now, only one of those three drivers, Christopher Basinger, is in the field this afternoon, so extremely high odds that we get a fifth different Daytona winner in HTRL history.
It's been interesting here, what we've seen here tonight. Obviously a different flair of a race with the car that we've been given here in this event. And there's been a rotation of different cars over the years when checking back on some of the standings, from Xfinity cars and sometimes to the old Gen 4 cars, such as the ARCA car, next Gen cars at the start of the year. When it came to Season 1 competition 2023, the series forces you to have to be adaptable and willing to adjust your skill sets to every car, because it really changes up the dynamic on who actually is able to come away with wins consistently, why we've had so many champions year to year.
It is interesting, right? Because in order to really be the best of the best, you got to be versatile in all manner of oval cars. And you're starting to wonder what car we're already going to be going into for Season 6. I mean, these guys were supposed to be actually running the new Gen 4 cars last season already. The only reason why they went to the new ARCA car instead was because they didn't get released in time. So, bit of a delayed run here on these new Gen 4 cars, but hey, what that has done, that's meant that a lot of these guys, they've been able to get some practice beforehand going into the season to be able to get a feel of how they drive already.
Yeah, now look at that huge speed differential with lap traffic, by the way, up on the high side. That was involved in the 75 I was referring to. They just zipped on by like they were standing still. They are driving somewhere in the 160s, the pack well in the 180s. It's almost like driving past someone that is putt-putting up on the highway at that speed.
And already a secondary pack forming up as well. Wyatt Walker for G&W Racing leads the way up top. David Lakey, Dustin Ping, Ethan Sikorsky, Canfield, and Coruscant run 19th through 24th. So it's a tough break for the group right now from 19th on back, who are running significantly slower than the drivers up in front by about 3 or 4 miles an hour, which is monumental at a plate track.
Yeah, that is not going to be easy to recover from for the rest of the day, to say the very least, unless you get caution flag periods here. And quite simply, this is, again, just the nature of the draft package, the nature of the setup. These drivers, 3/4 off, those drivers we're just looking at, rather, compared to the lead round. And we might actually see even more drivers lose that back end pretty soon, just with some of the gaps forming up there. That's the difficult part. You have to be so smooth with the throttle and so knowledgeable on how this package will force the checkups. Lap traffic, choosing bottom, go the pie.
And Carter Phillips topping out at about 160 at most down these straightaways while the field is running by him, going 30 miles an hour over that speed. And again, it doesn't sound like that big of a number, but I mean, imagine you're driving in the middle of the big city, right? And you're going the speed limit and you suddenly zip by someone who's just sitting on the shoulders, sitting still. That's the speed difference we're talking about here.
Absolutely, and that's, again, the big thing about, if you're lap traffic, you need to be aware of the situation. It's not like some of the air cars where you can try and suction up to the back end of the pack like the next gen car and be able to blend in depending on how well things are going. This car, if you lose the pack, you are a massively slower car in terms of bringing the speed.
Lap 40 of 100, still 11 laps to go before halfway. This race here turning into a real marathon. 250 miles is among some of the greater distances that we're going to be seeing over the course of the season. The only other races that are going to be at 250, you're going to, of course, have Auto Club Speedway. Next week, you're going to then have Michigan International Speedway in January, and Homestead Miami Speedway just shy of 250 miles, as it's going to be 150 laps, so not quite to the 167 that would make it 250, but it's the next closest thing, right? So not a lot of races are this long, and it's usually the higher draft tracks that tend to go this way.
Yeah, exactly. But this is where, in many cases, you have to calm before the storm. For pit stops, overwhelm drivers before things get wild from here on out. And lap cars are not moving this time. Hold on a second. Look out. We have lap cars on the apron.
Ay, look out. Ty Marasco stepping the tail end out. They're able to hold it together, and in this group, that second lap car at the bottom, that is defending champion Jaden Hopp. So Hopp has no incentive to move out of the way. He's hoping to make life difficult for the leaders so he can try to salvage what has so far been a race to forget for his title defense.
Again, the field prefers the outside, obviously, but it's their choice if they want to run the bottom. In this case, I believe Marasco might have a chance to keep it up. I don't think so, just because the damage. May as well try it, see if they can get blended into the pack, and it's not the case here. If they had no damage, they would have had a better chance, Nolan, to do that blend in.
Oh,
hold on, race lead, check up in front.
Kevin Foster, I think, clipped the apron there coming out of turn 4, and that caused Jeremiah Hobbs to scramble, and once again, we see the field being cut a massive break here. Take a look at this one again as they come off of turn number 4.
That was a bit of a checkup sequence, to say the very least there. Let's see how things look here.
Doesn't look like we'll be able to find it, but oh boy. Again, could have been a bit of a nasty run there for a few contenders, and lucky to escape that one. As heck, I thought for sure Fox was going to lose the lead there, or Hobbs would be shuffled back, and Ryan Dees could have absolutely tried to capitalize there. I'm surprised he didn't.
Yeah. This has broken things up a little bit, by the way, in the pack. A little buffer between Gibson and company has built up as a result. How things have gone here as lap traffic choosing everywhere. Now it's a slow-up course with the traffic.
Field gonna have to duck through the middle here. The lap traffic gonna break apart just in time. Bob Berry up top being lapped for the second time on this green flag run. And kind of interesting here. So some of the field choosing a whole bit more of a middle line there to try and drag as many lead lap cars with them as they can. And I think they've somehow defied the odds and mostly managed to stick together.
Yeah, able to just close back over the gaps. They did lose Wellman from everything. They lost Wareham. Down just about 16 in the main crew. With some of the drivers having a bit of a fight towards the back of the pack, with some of the lappers trying to hold on here. Looks like the 77 of Osborne did hook on at least to be able to help their case here. Although it is seeing Lacey forced up on the high side, and that's going to break them up a little bit. You see right here, they're almost holding each other up here with the side-by-side. That's going to kill both the runs. Lacey nearly turning them.
And Lacey trying to duck back in line. He's desperate not to lose that draft. And also one car slipping backwards. Jonathan Canfield. Something has happened in the second pack here. Zachary Wareham being shuffled all the way out from the from the top end of the secondary pack here. take a look at this one, Justin, because something big has just happened in Pack 2.
Not quite sure. Remember, some of the drivers back here have already had damage to deal with. Pack 2 already 10 seconds back in the leader. I don't think we got the chance to see per se here. But all of this is important to mention. So easy for things to get scrambled here as you go around the traffic like right here. Causes absolute calamity, breaks things up, causes checkups, lose your rhythm, and it takes a little while to gain back that rhythm.
Approaching halfway, and critically, the field has just hit lap 21 on this current field state, right? So you got green flag pit stops that are just around the corner. So that might be why drivers are trying to make short work of this lap traffic here, because nobody wants to be caught behind them and slow up. But you also want to make sure that you're maintaining that inside line as Michael Ramos being shuffled out. And I think Tanner Mars just had a connection drop because he is tumbling down the timing order.
Tanamar officially out of the race at this point. He was running 14th in the pack. He's already left the session, so something obviously going on in that case. There's a lot of talk going on. We're almost at halfway already, Nolan. It's taken us about an hour to get to this point, but it's been a roller coaster of emotions for some. Now it's about trying to see how you get the pit entry pretty soon. How well you approach, how well you enter, how well you get yourself into the box pretty soon. Oh, there was a bit of a checkup. Gibson here, we got hit.
Connor Gibson nearly getting turned from behind by Nick Nickerson. Again, the field able to still hold it together for the most part. It started with Paul Satmir, who got shuffled out of the line, and Jesse Gordon lifted to avoid turning him and let him back in. And we'll start lap 49 of 50. Approaching the 125-mile marker as they still run single file up front.
Mind you, Foster dominating the day. Eventually something's going to have to change to take him out of the lead, try and find a way to break up the rhythm here. Brian Deet's been a good pusher throughout this run. Jesse Gordon, good in some of the league races, continues to follow along. Michael Ramos, though, Munsos in the main pack up 15. Nickerson has gone through a lot, up 26. Robinson up 28. A lot of drivers who have to charge the way on through have been able to maintain this pack as it continues to splinter.
It's been a lot of movement, mostly helped out due to the multitude of cautions that we have had in the first portion of this race. And look at how closely packed together this second group is. They are really trying to run down the race leaders here, but I feel like being almost this closely packed up is actually slowing them down, because it's mainly when they have to check up before running into each other, it's that much more exacerbated because they don't have any room to work with.
Yeah, at this point, it's so difficult to be able to find any more ground to close up if you're in the second pack here too, mind you. You're basically on an island. You're hoping for the best. You don't have as much cars here to carry the speed here, Nolan. You don't have as much energy in your pack. You're dealing with drivers who potentially have damage in some of these cases, in fact. You're just hoping for the caution flag, and you hope you're not lapped before that mark. There's so much when it comes to this that frustrates you as a driver, but there's not much you can really do once you fall into a pack like this except ride along and wait to see what happens.
We're officially halfway home in the season opener of the High Tide Racing League Premier Series presented by Ohio and Indiana Roofing. 50 down, 50 to go, and once again we catch Morasco and Jada Hoppe. Once again, they are not going to move to the high side. Kevin Foster drives around the outside. Jeremiah Hobbs follows suit, and they'll take the rest of the field with them. And oh boy, bit of aggression there as some drivers chop down trying to cut off opponents.
Yet again, We already know some of these lappers just want to run the bottom, get blended into a pack. They don't make friends when they do that, obviously, but it's their best chance of trying to at least cover some aspect of speed, gain a little bit of interval. It's just not been working, though, for Rasco and Hop. Their cars are just that too demolished here at this point. Their circumstances.
Among those, Bob Berry, who just went down a 6th lap because he is only running about 30 miles an hour slower than the leading pack is. Approaching the lap 30 mark in the fuel stint here, Justin, and I got a feeling that maybe we were wrong. These guys can actually stretch the field out longer than we thought.
Yeah, even with the 8%, yeah, they are going a lot longer than I thought at first. I still think we're close to the number, especially with some of the talk going on the radio and planning circumstances coming up here. It's going to be, though, I think no matter what here, it's depending on how things go here with this run, it's going to be potentially likely they'll have to come in our time. Believe the 8 just said they're coming in this time. Pit window is open. They will have to come one additional time, and we have someone in the grass.
That's Colin Clevens going off the road, and I think he was trying to make it to the road as you see him hook a hard left, and he's going to pick up a black flag for an unsafe pit entry here. Take a look at this one here as... Yeah, he was trying to come in, I think, and just way underestimated the amount of stopping power needed.
Yeah, and that's why practice is important. You test out how well you can hit the brakes. You test how far they can go deep. You test how potentially you go with traffic. As here we go. Brian Dees doesn't go. And we have Gordon hit the 9.
Paul Satmary dipped wheels into the grass. Jesse Gordon into the 9 of Jeremiah Hobbs. It looks like for the most part we've been able to avoid disaster. Summers just crashed into his pit box.
Oh, that is absolutely disastrous for his chances. That will lose him the draft at minimum. And now it's about trying to hope for a caution after things cycle here to be able to try and limit the damage. Most of the field taking 11, 12 second pit stops here. A lot of people, interesting enough, not going up on the jacks at all here.
It's a lot of front end damage on that number 24, Justin. I have to be worried about overall horsepower in that car as a result of this. Here come the top 2, Brian Dees and Dalton Kilrow, the MFRG teammates coming in, and right behind them should be Lakey and everyone else.
Here they come. Kilrow is coming in with Brian Dees. He gained a lot of time in this window. Everybody else going pretty conservative on the entry. No major troubles on the sends. And now we... Oh, here we go.
And that time, you know, Satmary's been coming in. That was his own doing, right? Locked the rears. This time, Lakey had help. Yeah.
Don't know if he hit the brakes before going to arc it into his pit stall, but that obviously going to cost him the draft now. By the way, main group closing up already. Kilrow and Dees win a lap further. They will cycle behind these cars.
Just barely, though, as they come out of pit road right into the margin. They actually might be able to cling on to the tail end if they can get them to speed quickly. No, never mind. I take it back. Nowhere close. They're not going to be able to catch the draft with that.
Yeah, just didn't have the draft they needed on that one lap, that big of a difference. Seems to be some of the game plan here, so these drivers can go around 30. Let's take a look at what happened in this pack, because the entry was fine. Pack number 2. This is what you usually do. Inside, outside, do that type of a pattern. But they were side by side through the boxes in the first place. Yeah, he tried to enter his pit box and cut across with the double wide going on, and Sikorsky just hits him.
I feel like it's tough, right? Because, I mean, yes, of course, it was technically the slow lane, but at the same time, I feel like you got to be more ready for that. Like, it's clear that Lakey got caught off guard by where his pit box was, right? But that was the second or third stop. That was actually the fourth pit stop he's made all race long. You'd think by now he would have learned where his pit stall was.
I think he knew where the pit stall was, Nolan. It's just, I think he didn't blend down like he needed to beforehand. As, hold on, Foster jacked up a little bit. Hobbs all over the rear end as Gordon is about to lose touch with the draft.
Jesse Gordon going to lose touch, and that makes this now a 5-car drafting fight at the head of the field here. Scott Shire down to the inside. He's going to pick up Kyle Wellman, John to the Canfield, and Wyatt Walker, who will go around him on the outside. So these guys will make it potentially group of 4 if Shire can close up. No, he didn't get there. Was not quick enough with getting into the toe.
Yeah, and this draft ban is maybe half a second, 0.6 of a second comfortably per se. Anything further than that, I'll see a lot of people just are falling off the back end easily here. We've had some smoke picked up. Somebody just had an incident. Ty Marasco, no caution, got spun down the straightaway.
You see all the smoke and some of the tire tracks left behind. Let's take a look and see what happened to Marasco. He's got the 64 of Zachary Wareham right behind him. And that's just, neither driver could hold a line.
And because no one else is around, and despite the fact that Marasco's still slow here, that wasn't enough for a trigger to come out for the caution flag. Surprised that wasn't a caution flag, but Marasco might have been just going a little bit over the speed threshold, even on the racing surface, to trigger the caution.
Well, we got a moment here under this long green flag run, the longest one of the night so far. So we're going to once again shout out the guys who keep the lights on here for the High Tide Racing League. Ohio and Indiana Roofing is a premier roofing contractor, the sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise. They specialize in commercial and industrial roofing and are committed to accommodating the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. They're a team of individuals who work for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. They offer preventative maintenance, re-roof and new construction, infrared scanning, green roof solutions, metal, retrofitting, emergency repair services, and more. Visit www.oiroofing.com for more information. Once again, that is www.oiroofing.com for more information. Ohio and Indiana Roofing has been a long-time sponsor here with the High Tide Racing League, frequently sponsoring 1 or 2 races in a season. First time, though, they come on board as one of the title sponsors.
Well, they like this type of racing. Well, they have the connections with some of the drivers. They also are supporters of Blazing Pedals on Sundays, too. They like to support sim racing. And they like to support the development of its drivers in these championships. Good to see all the support built up. By the way, 2 packs of 5, 8 seconds lost, 6th through 10th though. The thing is, the faster of the packs is still your leaders, half a second quicker than these drivers trying to play Solon right now.
Critically as well, the pack that Connor Gibson leads actually is bigger than 5, but that's because there's a bit of lap traffic that's in the mix of this grouping as well that's started to be picked up as well. So that's why we see a little bit of a shakeup going on here throughout the course of the afternoon. Right now, Colin Clevens actually in this battle in the number 71. He is the current holder of the lucky dog position. He just took it away from Nicholas Coruscant, who will not be able to pick it up, although he is about to lose the lucky dog to Paul Satmary if the leading pack can catch up to he and David Lakey.
Now that might force a little bit of a move here. Will Satmary be able to use the leaders to maybe draft his way around here, depending on the responsiveness of The 84. Looks like they're just going to run the high side, not shake the apple cart. Well, I say that, and they choose to go back to the inside. So they chose outside, they chose inside. Now they have lap cars inside, middle, and outside. Oh, that actually forced the 30 to the wall. And a checkup. Here we go.
Hard into the wall for Paul Satmary. The 9 spins down the inside of Jeremiah Hobbs. That breaks up the leading pack, and Paul Satmary is destroyed. Satmary, one of the drivers that was a lap car in the mix of this. It looks like they're going to be able to gather it up, but now Kevin Foster is extremely vulnerable up here.
Yeah, someone might be able to drive around there, and that was kind of the fear of the slalom like that. If someone's offset, if someone's too close, you can get hard hits of contact like that. In that case, it's completely shattered the pack, and new race leader, Michael Thorpe Jr. is up front of the 34.
Big news for Michael Thorpe Jr., the Golden Garden Autosport driver, has been a long-time competitor since Season 2 with the High Tide Race, since Season 1 with the High Tide Racing League, and he has gone to the playoffs, Justin, 3 times, and every time has failed to walk away on top. But Thorpe is definitely a big title threat this afternoon as David Lakey steps the back end down, and they get loose again, coming down the front straightaway.
Remember that name you mentioned earlier, Ramos, who can make some splashes from the end of last season? He's able to make some splashes now, isn't he? Able to get to second. It's the highest he's ran, up 20 positions. In the first time, someone not the 8 in control. This has changed the tempo of the pack. The bigger thing is how things shape up compared to the air pack. This is all from, quite simply, the slalom. Big close up by the 2 in the trap. Up goes Hobbs, and Hobbs gets hooked, and Satmary is the one who just gets clipped in the checkup effect.
Great save from Jeremiah Hobbs, not so much for the 24 who goes up into the outside wall. A rough ride to the back straightaway is going to send Paul Satmary into pit road and out of this race after he was looking to potentially be the lucky dog. Now, Michael Thorpe Jr. leading the way here with Michael Ramos right behind him. Jeremiah Hobbs sitting back in third, with Foster and Nick Kirsten both still tagged along. Shockingly, this pack didn't fall apart. I thought for sure they might fracture. What that has done, pack 2 were 8.5 seconds. Now they're down to 5.
Yeah, they are closing a little bit. Just marginally. They closed up a couple tenths last time by. My thought is, I don't know if it's still going to be enough. They're able to gain a little bit down the front in particular. That's where they seem to get the speed straightened up and are able to carry a lot of it near 190 miles an hour. Back straightaway, where it goes even. So at this point, this pack may be able to reconverge at this point.
Connor Gibson continuing to lead the charge as they're going to duck around the outside of Ty Marasco, and they'll look to potentially do the same of David Lakey, one of the drivers that fell out of contention with that leading pack as a result of all of that melee that happened on the back straightaway as the third car in line, Dalton Kilroe, having a bit of a dust up with the outside wall that time by, coming off of 4.
A little bit sketchy yet again. Carroll, remember, one of the drivers involved in early incidents tonight. He is Ormond Barber co-machine. He's been able to withstand the contact, though. He's one of the drivers competing for championships now in multiple different series. He knows how to drive. He's a very solid league competitor, but we've had a change up front. Hobbs is in second. Ramos has dropped to the back of the lead group with the shuffling. They all slow him around more lap traffic. The 27 just did not get the opportunity to stay in line. Had the checkup and just decided he wasn't comfortable.
And Jeremiah Hobbs, I think, lost the lead. He looked to the outside, thought he might actually try to go for it there. Opposite gains, though, but he is really trying to lean in the back of that 34 car through turn 2. And I think Jeremiah Hobbs getting a little bit impatient here. I think he can see the risk from that second pack being only 5 seconds out, and he wants to build up that gap again. But the problem is you keep leaning on the back bumper. It's not going to do the rest of the guys any favors because they're lifting out in anticipation of something, given how much that's gone wrong over the course of the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's the important thing here at this point for some of the drivers to consider is, at this point, do you want to take the chance to burn extra fuel, get to the front? We've seen the undercut pretty powerful when it came to some of the pit windows. I think some drivers may think about pit stops soon here because we're at about near the top of the window. And remember, if you can take the short fuel now, it might be beneficial later on speed. We'll have to see, though, depending on what these packs do here, where the game plan is for some of these drivers. Don't think the lead pack's going to do it. The second pack might be more up for it.
There is a gap between packs 1 and pack 2, and then pack 3 is headed up by Ryan Philbrick. And this pack includes Benjamin Lacey, Kyle Wellman, and loosely tagged on is Canfield and Wyatt Walker as well. Although it looks like they may have just lost the grouping here as several drivers have kind of broken these guys up as they were forced to play the slalom game that our race leaders have been encountering so much risk with here this afternoon. And, well, I'm sure Thorpe is eager to get around the lap cars that he can see up in the windshield around here pretty quickly as well. And that next pit stop window probably going to be hitting with around 20 to go.
Give or take, maybe more so towards 15 regardless. Coordination's going to be critical here throughout this, Nolan, on how much fuel you put in, because that's where that fuel estimator really is going to come into play. iRacing has in the sim that allows you to be able to adjust your fuel to a specific number just about, which can adjust how much the gallon clicks go in. So that coordination between drivers is going to be so pivotal to make sure they get all matched up and then exit together to set up for the end of this race.
They will duck around the outside of the G97 Designs Ford Taurus of Caden Gargiulo. And up the road is John Osborne, along with Ethan Sikorsky. So 2 more contenders to go around the hard way who are not going to be moving out of the way early on. So Thorpe goes up top. Jeremiah Hobbs moves up at the last second to try to catch as much slipstream as he possibly can to go with him. And trouble for Bob Berry, who has just been awarded the mechanical flag.
He had been on his own much of the way. So obviously something going to miss for the 75. Here are the wrecking calls on the radio. We have the pack, It's the lead group. Here we go. Around they go. Caution flag is out.
Oh no, that is the dominant cars that have gone into it, including the driver that's led the most laps today, Kevin Foster. Nick Nickerson collected as well. He gets the worst of it. And the caution flag comes out once again with 26 laps to go. And I think this should mean drivers are good to go the distance.
And you know how that all happened? Lap traffic on the bottom, but Jeremiah Hobbs said, "Give me the lead, please." Takes the bottom. Here's the thing. The 8 wasn't sealed up to the bottom, went up half a lane and clipped Thorpe. Checked everybody up. And at that point, they just kept ping-ponging back and forth. And Nickerson wants to get the worst of it to bring out the caution before things stack up.
Michael Ramos in the 27 did a good job to get through that, and then Nickerson backs it down right into the door of Kevin Foster all over again. And falls apart after an aggressive movement. I was a bit worried about Hobbs, right, Justin? Because when we had seen how much he had really been leaning on the rear of Michael Thorpe Jr., I kind of figured it was only a matter of time before he tried something, and, well, here we are.
It was essentially one of just a couple passes on track for the race lead attempted all night. Just led to pure disaster. You can see some of the checkups for some of the drivers here. Watch out, pendulum swing, just pick the bottom and hope for the best.
Well, this is going to bring everybody back together, and I got to be honest, I think we might be in for a bit of a long ride to the finish here, just like we saw in the opening stint, because the aggression is going to pick up tenfold with under 25 laps to go when we go back green.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting end to the race here now with the field going to be compressed forward here. I think about 17 cars still in the lead lap, give or take. A lot of drivers, though, only 8-second pit stops. I don't think a lot of people have taken tires until just now in some of the circumstances. Tires not a big deal here, but just an interesting note that majority of the field has said, what are Goodyear Eagles? They can last forever. I'm going to put this on my road car.
Well, back in the day, some drivers would go out to parking lots in the 60s and raid cars out in the parking lot for tires, including heavy-duty truck tires. So, hey, why not? Let's try to go back to the olden days and make those tires last. Well, the caution flag is out once again, putting an end to the longest green flag run of the night. We'll be back in a moment with more racing action at Daytona in a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the World Center of Racing, where we are stacked up, doubled up, and ready to go. Back to green flag racing here at Daytona International Speedway. Coming up on Green Flag TV, it's going to be the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series of the National Super Speedway tomorrow night alongside, New Hampshire Motor Speedway tomorrow night alongside the OMSRL Gold Series at Kansas. PSR action returns to Avondale, Arizona to go racing at Phoenix alongside the Beer League on Wednesday. On Thursday, a lone show with the Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series out in Avondale as well at Phoenix. SRA will officially kick off action for the Super Speedway Blitz on Saturday night. And then the Blaze Puddles ARCA Series back for more as they swing out to Fontana, California to go racing at Auto Club ahead of the High Tide Racing League this coming Monday as well. David Lakey has just been caught with a black flag as he pits under closed pits here, Justin.
One of the drivers involved in some of the incidents earlier on, and at this point, as will come down, top off. You're already at the back anyways, and he'll definitely not be a part of the lead pack probably. Don't think he gets there in time. But everybody else, now it's about trying to get the outside line to work here, Nolan, and we haven't seen it really work today. The only reason we've seen the pass in the first place pop up there before they spiraled for the race lead was the lap traffic. They have to get the outside of work if they want to try and take this race win away.
Caution number 5 going to draw to a close as Kevin Foster jumps ahead of a lap car. It's a bit of confusion in the running order at the back, but it looks like it's been sorted. Green flag back in the air, and we resume action once again. Michael Ramos gets on the loud pedal, but Jesse Gordon with a big run up top. He pokes the nose in front. Can he clear him down to the turn number 1? We could see a lead change already here down to the opening corner. Jesse Gordon gets cleared. He's going to jump down and get around him.
Wasn't expecting that off the start. Ramos quite simply had it timed up perfectly by Gordon. And now everybody else looks to try and sort themselves out here as quick as they can. Most of the field has again gone to the bottom.
No surprises here. Still not a lot of faith being shown to the outside line. There's just no trust up there. Connor Gibson, Michael Thorpe Jr., and Jonathan Canfield, the drivers that remain up top, still have 20 cars out of the 28 running on the lead lap. So a good number of contenders that can still fight it out for the top spots here this afternoon. The break in the pack comes around 16th, where Scott Shire is 3/10 off of Mikael Robinson, and Sikorsky even further back from them, half a second back and dropping like a rock.
Not surprised with some of the drivers you just mentioned that are involved with some of the contact already with damage. You need a clean race car to contend. The damage has been like a paperweight attached to the car. Just quite simply, it's just that's so much drag to your car when you have some of the damage that some of the people do have to the rear end, for example. But everybody else has to plot and plan here with 21 to go. It's like a go-kart race. You have to think long term.
.21 to go, and we are single file all the way throughout the leading group. If the next caution happens due to a checkup, it would, I believe, be about the 4th time that we would have seen a single file crash as a result of drivers stacking into each other, and it's likely to happen towards the front of the field. The big question right now, can they make it? I think they can, but it's going to be close.
Going to be interesting. He has gone down pit road once again, by the way, after his situation, but with 20 laps to plot and plan, comes the question, where do you try and build a run? Where do you go to build something up? I believe the 84 is for the black flag, by the way. Yes, it is. So, at this point, though, for everybody else, quite simply, it's you have to pull the pin eventually. But the problem is you go too early knowing you're going to the back. You go too late, you lose your chance for the win.
Oh, hold on here. They're starting to stack it up a little bit. The 45 wide Walker has to get on the binders. But luckily, the rest of the pack behind had a pretty sizable gap, so they were able to anticipate that and get slowed down in time. We're not going to have an incident.
Yeah. And remember, our incidents have come from single file racing like this all night long. Looking like that Ramos is trying to get the 10 loose a little bit, is riding the bumper of Jesse Gordon. That's a little bit of an antsy drive right here, just with some of the contact here tonight on these checks. Ramos just trying to give slight kisses at best, trying not to seal off the front nose. Heard a lot of people talking about temperature issues in the first place when they sealed off the bumper, even with the slight tap.
Temperature management, not something that we've really had to talk about a lot with tonight, but in especially cars where you can bump trap more reliably, like the ARCA cars, the trucks, the Gen 7s. Yeah, temperature becomes a really big problem that you really have to kind of focus on resolving right often by just poking the nose out to the right-hand side. In cars like these where you're lifting more often than not, it doesn't come up as often, but when you get right up close like this, yeah, that temperature rockets up in a hurry, and Ramos trying to fill the mirrors and keep Jesse Gordon on his toes.
Just trying to make sure timed up just right for a move. Don't want to go early as mentioned. Keep in mind the winning margins in the dual races. Duel 1, kill row was 64 1,000ths. Duel 2 was 21 1,000ths. It likely comes down to another photo finish. Some of the drivers we haven't talked about here are in the heart of this too. Ryan Philbrick is amongst the competitors here, who's been in the third pack much of the night. Dustin Payton was much of the night in the second pack. Kevin Foster, who looked to be the dominant car all night, is still stuck down in 11th for that caution.
At this point, though, Foster's lucky that he's in the leading pack at all, given how aggressively that car got turned around. He very easily could have found himself going out of this race like so many others, like Massagill, McGill, Britt, Bassinger, and more have tonight. So, still in the shoe-in for a top 10. And Jonathan Canfield resetting the fastest lap for the first time since the opening 25 laps of the race, as he clocks in a 47.125.
Fast times to the back of the field because you just have the ability, if you're towards the tail, to possibly go a little more full throttle instead of check up or three-quarter throttle. Or coming up to 15 to go. Corcel is in front of the field. So lap traffic coming up. Will lap traffic stay to the bottom? Already calling for checkups. Lap card stays low. It wants to blend.
So Corcel going to remain pinned on the inside line, although being reliable with that inside line. So it's all on the drivers up top to get around him. And some guys, I thought for a moment, might be thinking about maintaining the outside line. And that's effectively going to shear this outside pack in half. And Kevin Foster has hung out to dry.
Foster again getting shuffled as a result of that. It's just been the course of the night as he gets himself pinned behind the lap car. Corcel is struggling to hook onto the draft in front. I don't know how long Foster waits here, but he's kind of been pushed into a sense of urgency. They are struggling to maintain the group.
Yeah, so right now Foster using Nicholas Corcel to help him maintain pace, because he knows if he tries to go around this lap car, he's losing the draft. Right now, that 40 car is the only thing keeping Kevin Foster and the cars behind him in touch with the leading group here. So he is more than happy to push Nicholas Corcel to the front, because that critically keeps him in the fight for the win.
Had to do it there. Oh, look out, it's time to slow him again. Nearly set him a chance to take over the race lead for a moment. 75 of Barry. He sticks to the bottom as some of the others went on the top. More lap cars coming up. Everybody having to keep themselves aware as Marasco is now low.
Leading group, though, has been doing a great job on getting around all of this lap traffic without too much of a fuss here this afternoon. There's only been a few very light incidents as we continue the runs that the field has had thus far. Jesse Gordon continuing to lead the way at the head of the field. And Jesse Gordon, yet again, another one of those drivers that was looking to make some waves last season, has already gone to victory lane a couple of times over the course of his High Tide Racing League career. Could Jesse Gordon start off his title run here on a high?
Possibilities there, absolutely. Jesse Gordon's a very stellar driver. Caught in some of the action in speed competition. He's able to make flashes like Batman. He's able to soar. He's able to keep things up high. But now, Brian D's getting shuffled. D's couldn't get back to the bottom, and now the 17 dropping outside the top 10 with 11 laps to go.
He'll be able to link up with the tail of the lead pack, so the grouping will remain strong here as we take 11 laps to go. Jesse Gordon continuing to maintain a solid outing up front. At this point in time, right, I mean, you got a big single file pack. If your guy's further down the field, at what point do you try to make that look to go to the front?
That's a tough question, because if you do it, say 5 laps, though, I think it's too early, because there's not going to be enough help. To answer your question, think something coming on 1 lap to go at least, because if you do it at 2 to go, you risk too many opportunities for drivers to fake you out, pass on by, and then do the move themselves coming to 1 to go. So I think you have to be able to be in the spot on the coming to the last lap to make the move, set something up, to then try and get around the 10 here. Don't leave it too late, though, because at that point, you cost yourself the chance.
Dalton Kilroe pushing to the back of Jeremiah Hobbs. Jeremiah Hobbs, of course, you could argue one of the drivers that instigated the latest yellow flag that caused all of the drama that sees us up here. Getting away from that incident relatively scot-free, as he is now seeking to make that move on Michael Ramos. He still runs in the 3rd place position, but it's still a tough task to even run single file like this. I mean, the temptation's got to be burning for these drivers to see if they can maybe make that move, especially for guys that are further down the field. Connor Gibson, fastest lap in the race.
I'm not worried about the fast laps right now. I'm worried more so on, can I find a way to round this 10 machine with enough of a boost? I think already some of these drivers are just feeling nervous about the timing of the pass here. We know how aggressive Jeremiah Hobbs is going to be here, Noah. That's the major thing. Hobbs already all over the rear end of the 27. Has already faked out drivers once. Will he do it again?
Got to be careful playing the games. The more times you try to make those games work for you, the more likely it is that your competitors are going to catch on and shut you down big time. So Hobbs is probably thinking about that, weighing options, thinking strategically here, and for the time being content to run as he is in 3rd. They're going to pass by Nick Nickerson up top. Further down the grid, still seeing no movement and no efforts for drivers to poke out and go up to the point.
It's the calm before the run to the end here. Some of these drivers have had to recover, like Benjamin Lacey, from some damage repairs. Dalton Kilroe was involved in some of the early caution flags. Kyle Wellman, at this point, is here. He was 3 wide at one point and had the driver shoved from the wall. Some of the checkup effects. So many names here that have an opportunity late to take advantage of the situation. Any one of these 10 in this pack can win it. It's just going to be the matter of circumstance. And it might very much come down to lap traffic here with the timing of it, Nolan, to get the crowbar to open up some of the passing lanes, to get alongside Garnet if you want to take away his inside line.
And there's quite a bit of it up the road. I'm counting 4 cars up there that they're catching fast here. So Jesse Gordon has got a lot of work ahead of him if he wants to maintain that lead. He's got to be absolutely on point to make sure that Michael Ramos right behind him cannot get a run going. And they're going to catch that first bit of traffic right here. Carter Phillips stays to the outside, makes it easy for the lead lap guys to get around him. But the next drivers up in the lineup, well, you got Caden Garjou and John Osborne. They have not been so eager to go up top.
Yeah, no one's been willing to do it because, quite simply, it's a parachute to the back. No one else wants to try it. Look at this flow. Not sure what the 9 is doing. Hobbs really having to back up all of a sudden. Is he trying to set some runs up maybe with Kilroe? He's getting pushes with 5 to go.
I think he was attempting to go for, I think he's attempting to back it up for a run. I think you're exactly right. He's trying to set up the pass here, and he's hesitant because of all the lap traffic up the road. He doesn't want to force these guys 3 wide. So he might wait to pull that trigger until they get a run going. Here he goes, on the outside goes Jeremiah Hobbs going for the lead.
Going middle, and now lap cars going everywhere. Lap car apron, deep to the apron. That was my concern, knowing nobody wanted to go with Jeremiah Hobbs, and Hobbs has now taken himself out of the equation for the win.
How much do you reckon that's all due to word getting around of what happened about 20 laps ago or so when there was contact for the lead of the race to bring out that latest yellow flag? I think for Hobbs, I think it was too soon. I think that's a move you need to make with about 3 or 2 to go, but 5 to go, you leave yourself vulnerable in the final lap.
Yeah, right now, I think quite simply that's kind of showed the cards a little bit early. We've seen previous now. We have to wait and see. When will someone bite the bullet again? No lap traffic around to play a factor for the next time out there. So we'll find out when they come up to the final couple laps who's willing to go. Already a lot of communications over the radio as the packs have really splintered.
3 laps to go, 7.5 miles of racing action left in the season opener at the Daytona International Speedway. Jesse Gordon, Michael Ramos, Dalton Kilroe remain the top 3 drivers. Wellman and Philbrick close out the top 5. Also in the pack, Walker, Lacey, Ping, and the lap car of Coruscant. It'll be 2 to go at the line, and it's anyone's guess who's going to win this one. But right now, Jesse Gordon, at least in numbers game-wise, is looking to be the favorite.
Looking very comfortable here with the way things are looking. Where will someone poke? That's the 2 laps to go here. Again, everyone's just kind of on the edge here. Very nervous about trying to make the move and losing all the points. But they know if they want to win, they've got to try something.
Down the Daytona Super Stretch for the penultimate time tonight, looking for the white flag this time by. The big question is, do they make it around to take the white flag? Nothing to stop them from taking the white flag, but we've seen some crazy things tonight, but it looks like they're going to make it back, and it'll be 1 lap to go at Daytona.
One more time around. Look at this. Shuffle it out.
Oh!
Contact with the race lead. Gordon got peeled off the bottom.
Michael Ramos driving to the point. Dalton Kilroe in line with them. The outside line faltering big time. The 05 linking up, trying to see if Ryan Philbrick can push him to the point, but right now, no momentum up top. When does Dalton Kilroe make the look on Michael Ramos? Kyle Wellman looking to make the move first. He nearly hooks the 41. And up to the top shelf goes Benjamin Lacey. Lacey pulling the outside line, but he's got no help. Dalton Kilroe still clear with Ramos down to the turn numbers 3. Into turn number 4. The 41, backing it up. He's going to try to make a look for it here. Coming down the front straightaway, looking for it. This time by, down the front straightaway. Ramos in the lead. Kilroe can't get there, and Michael Ramos hangs on, and he is the 5th different winner at Daytona in the High Tide Racing League.
Took the run coming up to the white flag. Like I said, you had to figure out a way by that point forward. In that case, Gordon got bumped there as Ramos faked him out, forced him to the middle, got him loose, and it just opened up the lines, exactly what the 27 wanted to see, to get himself a maiden win.
Big day for the blockbuster number 27, starting off his season 5 on a high after coming in running part-time throughout season number 4, and congratulations all around being given by fellow competitors. Kilroe tried. He was giving it everything on the final lap there, but just could not find the momentum to run him down. And, well, he's going to work his way into the tri-oval and get set to burn it down here on the front straightaway, and I'm sure he's a happy guy to do that. It's always special to take your first win, especially though when it's at such a big venue.
It's always a crown jewel when it comes to victories, absolutely. This 27 machine off to a strong start for this campaign. Stepping stones are there. Keeping up from this point forward.
He's going to burn it down to the front straightaway, and with all of that said and done, let's take a rundown of your official post-race results here this afternoon. Overall incredible race that we had here, and this sets up what could be quite the season here to come. Finishing it off, number 1, it's going to be Michael Ramos alongside Dalton Kilrow. Benjamin Lacey closed out the podium. We'll speak to both of them in just a moment. Kyle Wellman comes home 4th. Jesse Gordon back in 5th. Dustin Ping in 6th. Bill Bergen in 7th. Ryan Walker in 8th. Connor Gibson in 9th. Then Jeremiah Hobbs closes out the top 10 after an ill-fated move to go for the lead too early.
11th spot went to Kevin Foster. Thought it was going to be his race the way things were shaping up, but never know how things go. For the 8, he ends up falling down to 11th with Brian Dees. Michael Thorpe Jr. was leading for a little while too, before caution started to come in. Canfield did get to 14th in the end, or Robinson, Schuler in 16th, Coruscant in 17th, Wareham, Sikorsky, and Clevin. It's your top 20.
Moving it up for the 21st place spot, Nick Nickerson 1 lap down along with David Lakey. John Osborne 3 down, Gargiulo 5 down. Hop, the defending champion, a day to forget for him, and he is going to be looking to have a better run at it here next week at Auto Club. Time Barassi comes home 26th, Barry in 27th, Phillips, Satberry, and Marr for the top 30.
31st went the way of Austin McGill, upside down for a second time in this series. Massico in 32nd, Britt, Beach, Bassiner, and then it's Williams, Raymond, and Bell, a part of the list of drivers at the bottom of the order here tonight at Daytona.
Well, that closes down a thriller here at Daytona International Speedway to kick off the season, and we'll get the chance now to give a chit-chat in here to the drivers that finished this race. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 here this afternoon, and we'll look to kick things off first and foremost with Michael Ramos, the driver of the blockbuster number 27, coming home with his maiden win in the High Tide Racing League. Michael, it is a big day for you as you walk away with your first ever win here in the High Tide Racing League. Was it any concern for the drivers behind you on that final lap? Talk us through it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Looking out as we were coming out of 3 and 4, was definitely keeping my eye on Dalton. You know, very good driver. Was expecting completely for him to jump on the outside. But as we came to the trial bowl and saw that he was just going to stay tucked, I was like, okay, I think we got this.
Overall, this race was one where it proved that making moves was obviously a difficult task, and all the checkups was a constant source of discussion on the driver comms throughout the course of the afternoon. What do you reckon it is about this car that differs so heavily from other stock cars that makes that such a big discussion?
Oh, I mean, you have the fear, right, of jumping out because you don't want to be, left out to dry and fall to the back. So we obviously, when you get any line of cars that long going in a straight line, all hugging the bottom, you're going to have those very serious checkups. Maybe not so, maybe subtle in the front, but then as it, accordions back, it gets more severe. I just try to manage it. Wasn't trying to stay on a bumper the entire time, but that way I could kind of feather the gas and maintain distance, see it coming if it did get extreme. And then if it ended up resulting in a wreck, start making, trying to pick my line and start driving out the rearview mirrors, try to make it through it. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky car. This is actually the first time I've driven it in a race. And you could, in the driver's chat, you could tell a lot of people are very fearful to jump out, just simply because they're concerned about going to the back.
So your first win in the High Tide Racing League, the first one always feels special, especially at a track as big as Daytona. Do you reckon this is a sign of good things to come in Season 5 for your championship bid?
I mean, hopefully, but work has a vote, life has a vote, so we'll see. Hopefully I get to be around as much as I can, and hopefully the, wins keep coming. But there's a lot of good guys in this league, and Daytona is a game of luck, where you're at and how you finish. But I think once we get to the intermediates and to the short tracks and the road courses, there's going to be others that are going to easily come up and win. I think I was just in the right place at the right time on this one.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck then for the rest of the season. And next week, it's a swing out west to Fontana, California. Auto Club Speedway is just around the corner. We'll hopefully see you there again, Michael.
All right, thank you.
Michael Ramos comes home number 1 this afternoon. And Justin, you're going to be able to catch up with the Season 3 champion, Dalton Kilroy, coming off strong in number 2.
Yes, indeed, Dalton. You had a lot of ups and downs here tonight. How would you describe your 9 in the 41?
Yeah, started off not too great because I missed the start. But luckily got a quick caution, was able to get back to the field. Just tried to do what I could to not put myself in a spot to where I would just drop to the back going to the outside. And I hate having to do that because that's not fun to me. But was able to just gradually work my way up to the front from whether it was somebody making a mistake or somebody making a move and then just nobody going with them. And wish they didn't get side by side in my mirror on that last lap, because then I probably could have had a run at the 27. But for missing the start and being half a lap behind the pack on lap 2, I'll take finishing second tonight.
Indeed, how difficult was it to set up passes with this package here tonight? It seemed difficult.
Yeah, you had to wait for the car behind you to be on your bumper and the car in front of you to leave just enough room to where you could stick your nose in and take the run, to where they don't feel like they can actually shut the door and end up either forcing you below the yellow or turning themselves across your nose or anything like that. Never really got to do that move tonight, just because, again, most of the passes I was making were either in the pits or somebody just going up to the high side by themselves and just dropping like a rock. So, I mean, besides that, it was virtually impossible. So, I mean, the fact that Ramos was able to get the move to take the lead at the white there was, hey, good on him. Got him. It was the winning move. Got him the win.
So with that being said, how do you feel about California next week? 250 miles again on the docket, by the way.
So I've heard that this car is a lot better on tracks that are not super speedways than it is on super speedways. So I'm hoping that's the case and we can get some racing like we had in, I believe it was season 2. Yeah, it was season 2, because we had a pretty good race there in the Legacy Gen 4. So hopefully we can recreate that, maybe with a little less cautions in this Gen 4. And hey, maybe we have a more exciting race, because I heard from somebody that popped into my channel that was probably one of the most boring races they've ever watched, and I hate it. I hate that they had to watch that, but it's kind of what we're dealt with this car. So hopefully it's better next week, and we'll see.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
Well, gotta thank Ohio and Indiana Roofing for hopping on as the season sponsor. I gotta thank MFRD, Orma Barbaco, everybody at HTRL for putting the league on. You guys are doing the broadcast for us, and all the drivers coming out and making this race, I mean, relatively clean. Because I mean, I know we had a handful of cautions, but that's not unexpected for Daytona in this kind of package. So overall good race by everybody, and just glad we could at least have a decent finish and not just be single file all the way. Yeah, that's about all I can think of. I'm blanking.
Congratulations on the run here tonight.
Thank you.
Dalton Kilroy gets himself a second place run. Benjamin Lacey, though, got a top 3. He was spun around at one point here, Nolan. Still able to get a top 3 in the Ford.
And quite the afternoon for you, like Justice said, obviously going around and then recovering all the way back up to third place. I mean, it was a wild afternoon for the Real Earth Films number 7.
Yeah, it was. I feel pretty fortunate, and what a crazy last lap there to put the Real Earth Films filming the Wild Ford up there in P3. But yeah, bit of a blockbuster night, I think, for us. Like got spun around there on a massive checkup, and then only had about 10, 15 seconds worth of damage on that. And then there was another point in the race where I ended up losing the draft because teammate didn't realize I was up there, and they were trying to hang on to the draft too, and that just slowed us both down, and that was that. But got a timely caution and was able to fight back up for a P3.
Overall, a lot of the carnage happened earlier in the race. I believe only one yellow flag in the back half, and a lot of it in the opening 30 laps. When you see a race open up like that, how do you have to adjust that mentality when the race does start to go green for the next 60-odd laps or so?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's one of those ones where you kind of just start paying attention to the carnage happening. And this one seemed to be kind of happening in the back half of the field. So I was like, okay, track position matters right now, not only for staying in the draft, but also staying out of trouble. So I wanted to stay up front there. And then once you kind of feel the race is settling in and you're going to get those green flags, and you got to find your partners and go them in together. And we were able to do that and kind of keep up with the pack there for a bit. But it definitely does change your mentality a little bit. You kind of have to shift from plan A to plan B almost.
So looking forward into the season as a whole, you haven't won a championship since season number 1. I know you've made it to the Final Four a couple of times in the last few seasons. With the new championship format in play here, do you think that number 7 car can take advantage of it and come out on top at season's end?
Well, that's my plan. I'm going to give it everything I've got. We got some really good competition in here. Obviously, last season's winner and defending champ, Jaden Hopp, I think he had an unfortunate run this round, but he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and obviously tough to beat. Aaron Smith, if he chooses to run the full season, he'll be tough. Nick Nickerson, Thorpe, Dustin Ping always finds a way in there. Kilrow. So I mean, we've got a handful of guys that you got to kind of worry about a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can only control what you drive. So race the track and let the pieces fall where they fall.
California awaits, Ben. We'll see you again when we go racing once again in 1 week's time. Congratulations on taking home 3rd, and we'll see you in Fontana.
Yeah, hopefully we'll talk to you guys then too, but we'll see. Thank y'all.
Benjamin Lacey comes home number 3 this afternoon. And Justin, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews here this afternoon. Overall, a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to season openers. A lot of carnage early on, a lot of calm in the middle, and then quite the final lap there to kind of shake things up right at the buzzer. But Auto Club Speedway not too far away, just around the corner. And this night, I think kicking off what should be a fun season.
Should be interesting from here on out to see how the cars drive and how the racers race, to say the very least. It was pretty difficult to make passes. It was made pretty clear tonight just with the nature of the package. But next time out, I'm very hopeful to see some good racing. The old Gen 4 car back in the day when calling some of the races back then put on some phenomenal racing there. I'm curious how things go for High Tide, though, for 125 laps next time.
Before we get to all of that, there's still more action still to come here on Green Flag TV. And when racing action kicks off again here on the channel, it's going to be, tomorrow night when we go racing once again over at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway alongside the Old Mesero Gold Series at Kansas. PSR and Speed are both going to be in Avondale for the Phoenix Raceway this coming Wednesday and Thursday, with the Beer League sandwiched in between them. The SRA Super Speedway Blitz kicks off its first race of the season, also down here at the World Center of Racing. And then it'll be an Auto Club doubleheader. The Blaze Brothers ARCA Series takes to Fontana first for ARCA action, and then 24 hours later, it's going to be the High Tide Racing League presented by Ohio and Indiana Roofing, kicking off more action for 125 laps, 250 miles. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name is Little Rebel alongside Justin Prince. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you again when we go racing in Fontana.